I believe that we make circumstances. You don't have to go get a job and work for someone else. Any day could be a new day. Never go back to the old way of thinking. Mason, Mastermind Collective. Today I would like to share my story with you. So first, thank you for being here, and wherever you are, thank you. Well, where do I start? My story starts 23 years ago in the southwestern section of Philadelphia. I grew up on 84th Street. Just a typical American neighborhood. It was middle income, middle class. Philadelphia is one of those cities that a lot of people pride themselves on where they come from, and I'm no exception. I love my neighborhood, I love my community, love the friends that I grew up with, and I had some really awesome experiences growing up in Philadelphia. Growing up, I always did really well in school. I mean, I always gave 110% into anything that I did. I had a passion for architecture and drawing at a very young age. Had a passion for model building, and I always was very good at using my hands, right, like a true mason. So I think it was always in my blood to create and to build and to have a vision. I mean, so growing up, I remember I would always redesign my room and build little model cities with airplanes and different things, and my mom would go out and buy stuff for me to paint and to fix, and I was into arts. Always had a knack for art. But as I grew up, it wasn't always good. I do come from a single parent home. My dad, who is a tremendous man, he made a lot of mistakes in my childhood, as most fathers do, especially growing up in the inner city. And so he had, his addictions and his battles with his vices. And so for birthdays and holidays, my dad was never around. I mean, just to put it out there, he was never around. And my mom used to tell me and my brother that, that he's out, he's working. I remember it came to a point where she ran out of excuses for him. And as we got older, me and my brother started to realize that my dad, he had some issues. And we kind of questioned, it was more of a why. We knew that he loved us. It wasn't if he loved us. It was, why aren't you around on some of the most important occasions, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas, my birthday. And so growing up, even though I loved my dad, I never had a great relationship with him. I always had a strong relationship with my mom. And so I've seen it all. I've seen the abuse. I've seen what addictions can do to families. I've seen the impact it can have on not only a family, but a neighborhood, a community. And so growing up, I always told myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to do more for my mom. I'm going to do for her what my dad wasn't doing at the time. My mom developed cancer. She had emphysema. And at age 11, she passed away. My mom actually died right next to my bed. And so I remember the night before my mom made the transition back to an angel, and she came into my room and my mom she was hooked up to like an oxygen tank. She had she needed help breathing, so she had an oxygen. And you know, I always felt that me and my mom had a very special connection. And so I remember that night she came and she sat next to my bed, and I had just turned 11 because my birthday's in March, and this was April 12th. And so she came and sat next to my bed, and we did our usual prayer, and she told me a story, which I won't share right now, but I'll never forget. And that was the last night that I shared with my mom. And so, as most kids are when they lose a relative or a parent or a brother or sister, they're devastated. And when I realized that my mom wouldn't be joining me in my quest to this life anymore, I was devastated as well. But instead of using that as a reason why I'll never win in life, or a reason why I should give up, as most do, I looked at it as a reason why I needed to do something great and make my mom, wherever she is, proud of me. To make my last name mean something. To make my brother proud. And to ultimately win for my grandma. So after my mom passed away, I continued to do pretty well in school for a couple years thereafter. And then once I graduated middle school and got into high school, that's when things kind of went by the wayside. Hung out with the wrong crowd. Didn't take school serious. And made a lot of decisions, bad decisions that most inner city kids do. If you name it, I've probably done it, trust me. And so through my teenage years, 13, 15, 16, 17, growing up in Philly, you don't know how tough it is until you get out. Okay, it's like a goldfish in a fish tank. He doesn't know how small it is until he gets into an ocean and say, what have I been doing this whole time? So it wasn't until I moved to California in 2008 that I realized that that there was more to life. And so here I am today, sharing my story with you, embarking on my dreams and goals, and making this into a reality. But it wasn't always this easy. And coming to California, when my dad had contacted me, my dad had got into a rehabilitation program when I was still living in Philadelphia. And when he had contacted me, he had asked me if I would be willing to come visit him. He was staying in a city not too far outside of Los Angeles. And he had got into a rehabilitation program, and he had moved from Philadelphia to California to become sober. And so when he called me, I said, yeah, Dad, I'll come check you out. Pretty awesome, right? Never been to California. I thought it'd be a great experience, right? Come see the beach and the sun. And so I came out here, sure enough, for a 2-week trip, and this was summer. And right before I was to return home, my dad asked me, he said, Sam, would you be willing to stay for a little bit longer? And so, he gave me a night to think about it, because my plan was to leave the next day. And I said, well, you know what, Dad? I'll stay for a couple more weeks. I was thinking in my head, you haven't been around my whole childhood. It'd be good to spend some time with you to get to know you. So, lo and behold, those weeks have turned into a couple years now. And I've been privileged and truly blessed to have an opportunity to do things that most people don't even dream about. And I don't say this to put me on a pedestal or to make me sound like I'm better than anybody. The only difference between the Sam Mason now and the Sam Mason 5 years ago is that I made a decision. A decision to change my life. A decision to never go back to the old way of thinking. Growing up in Southwest, I've lost many friends to gun violence, drugs. And so I knew very early on that if I wanted more, I had to become more. And this was even before I moved to California. So when I made the decision to stay, I said, well, this is even bigger than my dad. Maybe this is my chance at something. Besides, this is Hollywood, right? This is California. This is where people make it big. maybe this is Sam Mason's shot at doing something great. And so I moved here. I made a decision never to go back to Philadelphia and live. And here I am now. And so I tell you this story to encourage you, to make you believe that this can happen to you. No matter where you come from, what you look like, what you've done in the past, it doesn't matter. Any day could be a new day. But the important part is you have to make a decision. You know, I truly believe that there is a magic in believing. And growing up, most of us are led to believe that government or religion or a certain system or a certain set of circumstances has an effect on who we are and ultimately our destiny. And I disagree. I believe for guys like us, the rare breeds, the thoroughbreds, I believe that we make circumstances. That we don't become victims of our environment. We make our environment. And so I tell my story to encourage that kid who might be sitting in that audience chair, who might be at home, who might be at the park, who might be on that bus or that trolley or that subway, and they're looking out that window, or they're looking up at that podium, or they're looking at their city street, and they're depressed. They're thinking about giving up on life. They might be thinking about indulging in a life of crime as means to support a family. And so if I could reach out and even just touch one kid and make a difference in one kid's life, I believe that my mission here is fulfilled. Because I want to remind that person, that individual, that you don't have to sell drugs. You don't have to engage in violence. You don't have to go get a job and work for someone else. You can do and become whatever you want to become if you make a decision to believe, not in someone else, not in a system, but if you make a decision to believe in yourself. If you make a decision to never give up on your passions, your goals, and your dreams in life. And sure, there'll be obstacles. Anything worth having won't come easy in life. And if it does come easy, you won't appreciate it. So get out there, fight for what you believe in. It's your time. Thank you very much.